think Mark Holmes, the son of John Holmes, has ever had Stephen Jones on 4 times on his show? Who in the world is Mark Holmes? Will somebody please tell me?
By the way, King Dick back here, and so before we start this video, I gotta get this mother humping thing out of the way. Mark Holmes is my dad.
Well, good Wednesday afternoon, friends. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. You could be anywhere that you wanted to be right now, but you are here with me and Jobu Sports Report, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Some people, if you don't have haters, shout out to you. Mike Andela, sup, man? What's going on? 100%, bro. Crystal, Caramel Corn. Hey, Holmes, how are you doing? James, Big Forehead. Cowboys blow. Okay. And Chip Game Sports TV. Salute Mark Holmes. Good Wednesday. So we are doing something new here. A couple of things here with the Jobu Sports Report. And again, I appreciate everybody being here. This has become, at least for a while, our temporary home. I am old, and that means my parents and my in-laws' parents are a little bit older as well. And we are doing some work to help take care of my in-laws and things like that. And we are actually blessed to have the Red Brick House as a base of operation. Hello, Mark Holmes. Stop buzzing bright. Give Game Time Brian a hard time. Oh, man, Game Time Brian, man, that's my boy. You know, this is where YouTube has been such a blessing for me because I have gotten so many different friends, lifelong friends, because of YouTube. So a couple of things here. You might notice our new YouTube clock that we have up here. Dak is trash. Okay, that's your opinion. Dirty Sanchez in the house. Why do we care about Dak so much? Because he's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. That's the reason why we care about him. If he wasn't, we wouldn't give a rat's ass about him. It's the reason why we cared about Tony Romo so much. How about that one? Because there are holding our hopes and our dreams of winning a Super Bowl. How about that? So we have our new clock here, and you can see right now we are 141 days away from kickoff of the 2024 season. Can you guys believe that? We're starting the clock earlier than ever before. And what this thing will do is, hopefully, when we get super chats, when we get new channel members, it's going to be doing some different things. It's going to be, I'm not sure Michael has programmed it, so I don't know what it will do. I honestly, we'll see. We shall see what it does. Actually, let me. Okay. I'm not sure what that's going to do. Okay, so we've got Dan Selio. We got 6 minutes before we go on his show. Here's the thing. Let me give you a little background here while we get ready to join in live. Dan is a former Miami Hurricane football player, played with Michael Irvin, knows, of course, The Rock, played for Tampa Bay for a little bit, played with the Cowboys for 1 year, not a big, pro football player, but has been a radio disc jockey here. I mean, a radio sports talk guy for many, many years in many, many different locations. But he's abrasive. He's very abrasive, and he rubs people the hard way and wrong way. And I like that. I really, truly like that. He will, for some people, they want to hear what they want to hear. They don't want the truth. And Dan, more than anything else, from what I've learned from the brief bit of time that I've talked with him, is he is real, and he's not going to sugarcoat it. So I see Game Time Brian's in this chat. So let's listen in while we get ready to join the show here. I'm actually excited because
for Mark Holmes,
this is going to be
Cowboy Nation
one of those
where
things where you hope
March
having
13th,
somebody who's outside
2024.
looking
Dallas has
in
done
will
virtually
give you
nothing.
a different perspective than what
Can
we
we
have
win
typically, which would be
with that many
only
questions?
us. Okay, we're all going to be a little bit jaded.
I like it.
Dak sucks, bro. Okay, we see where you are,
To be honest,
buddy.
we got
Dirty
embarrassed by the
Sanchez.
Cardinals,
Okay,
too.
now it does take
Steven,
a minute or so
great
before
take.
it'll do some. Dirty
Yes, you
Sanchez,
did.
just a little something for the draft. Don't spend it all in one place.
Okay.
All right. Shout out to
Absolutely.
Dirty Sanchez. Dirty.
Parsons and Devin White?
We'll see.
No.
if it
Parsons
works.
is better.
We'll see if it works, Dirty.
Parsons is better. Dakota is going nowhere else to be successful.
Okay.
I disagree with that. I think the Cowboys hold them back.
All right. So here's what's
Okay.
interesting is he does know Stephen Jones rather well. And
Hurts is galaxies away from Josh Allen.
Curtis, I hadn't heard that one in today.
Galaxies.
Walk away, like Stephen Jones says, we hit our max we can
Let's
spend
see here.
in a 5-year. Yeah, okay.
Swaggy.
But then what
Talk
you
your
do
shit.
is,
I'm a diehard
there it
Eagle
goes.
fan, and I
it's
want to
Dirty
know
Sanchez. You
these
got
things as well.
Dirty Sanchez
Running on-
sent a green super chat. Oh shit!
Organization matters.
I heard a
Hey,
chick-ching.
I'll say this to you, Swaggy.
Okay, it takes a while.
Nobody in that
Shout
city
out
asked
to you,
decent
Dirty
questions.
Sanchez. I appreciate that.
Nobody.
You are the very first
I
one
mean,
to
I don't think
ring
it's-
our
I didn't think
bell.
that Hassan
Wait a minute.
Reddick-
Maybe I shouldn't say that with Dirty Sanchez. 'cause-
And asking organizational matters
All right,
and
let me
questions.
put this over
I don't think
here.
that that's out of
It's almost
line.
time to get up in there.
I do not.
I love you, Mark. Watch you all the time. How about them Cowboys?
Okay.
Well,
I
I'm
do
going to
not think
say
that.
I'm not sure about them Cowboys
Michael
because
Parsons
we
is
got
the
Stephen
highest
Jones.
PFF
You know,
pass
I have
rusher
been
grade
up
in
and
the fourth
down
quarter of the
around
season.
all over the place with the
On
Cowboys.
the back of 16
In some
pressures,
regards,
third most.
I don't want to say Stephen Jones is right,
Pass rush win rate, and yet I never
but there's
see
some
him.
things
He's missing
that
Parsons.
he has been right about
was he
that
in
we
the
have killed
Packer
him
game?
for. Okay, you
Where?
can take Dorrance
Was
Armstrong
he in
when
the
Dorrance
Packer game?
Armstrong was taking
How
over for
about when
Randy
the Niners
Gregory,
beat the
and
living
you know
shit
he
out of
said, you know,
They
he's
dragged
right
you
there
like
in
they were
production
looking for a
rise
dead body in
with
a lake. And Michael Parsons
Randy
was at the
Gregory,
bottom
and he
of
was
that
right.
lake.
And now we're mad that
Where
we're
was
letting
he?
him go. So
In that
no
game, you
matter
got
what
drilled.
we do, no matter what
Where
we do,
where was he in
people aren't going
the
to be happy.
Buffalo game?
So there you have it. So
I
let me
mean,
mute
he
my
was
mic
nowhere.
And in 1 minute, enter his studio.
You make it
I've
sound
never
like
heard
that.
of that,
He
Mark.
got-
Is that a real
So
thing?
he's good
Teams
against
have
the
it? No,
Giants,
they don't.
the
No, that's
Commanders,
some Stephen Jones bullshit right there,
the
Wade.
Jets.
He's basically saying, you know, everybody has the same amount of
Teams
money to
that don't
spend, and
matter.
we all spend. We max out. But
Don't
see,
put
here's
Lane
the thing.
Johnson on him.
You know, you can go through and
You
you,
know
can
what you
go
have
to
to hear then?
sales.
Daddy's
You can
home.
buy, you know, stuff when it's more convenient. Sometimes you buy it sooner
When
than
Michael
later before the
Parsons
price
lines
goes
up
up.
against Lane
Yeah, they're
Johnson,
spending a lot of money, but it doesn't mean they're spending the
They
right
should play
money
it
the
over
right
the
way.
intercom.
And that's one of the
Daddy's
things I
home.
want to be talking with my buddy Dan here in just a minute here.
Daddy's home.
Daddy's home. Oh, Lordy.
It's like Velcro. Michael
The
Parsons,
hell?
you know, he's like that kid that, you know, that little
Okay.
knapsack that you have for little babies.
All right, this
that
is
wives
this.
wear, or women
You
wear,
may be
the kids in
watching
the front, he's flailing away.
something totally
You know, he's
different.
kicking-
This
feet
is
are
either going to
kicking
be
in the
really,
hands.
really good,
That's Michael
or it's
Parsons.
going to suck ass.
in that
And I don't know which it's going to
knapsack.
be. All right,
And there's
so let me
Parsons
enter
flapping his
the
hands and his
studio.
feet.
And
when
let
Lane
me
gets a
mute
hold
his
of him.
mic.
It's like Velcro.
Okay.
Absolutely. SOS missing Parsons.
Okay. Oh, SOS missing Parkinson.
Hey,
Oh,
SOS.
shit. Here we go.
All right. This is what we're going to do here. We are going to simulcast with
Here we
Cowboy
go.
Nation and Eagle Nation. And Mark and I have been working on this. By the way, every Wednesday at 3:30, we are going to do this.
We are?
And if there's questions in
I
both,
didn't know that.
we're going to be able to use his chat, our chat, and we'll ask questions if you guys have some common sense comments. So with that, and further ado, we bring in Mark Holmes. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing really good, man. I am doing actually really. I've been listening to some of your show, and I've been seeing the warm up there with some of your fans, man. They've been killing me in there, man. I mean, damn. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but they say there's no such thing as bad publicity. So we're definitely getting some hype, and I appreciate you bringing me on here. I'm just a guy from his mama's basement. You know how that is.
Oh, and mama's panties. I forgot. We got to keep context here. We got to keep context here.
There you go. I was sitting here listening to the milk carton Parsons, as in he is missing in action.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what's interesting?
Well, where was he in the San Francisco?
Where was everybody?
In the Green Bay game? Nowhere.
Where was everybody though, Dan? I'll be honest with you, man.
If I get this though, Mark, here's the thing though. You want me to pay you $30 million?
Yeah.
You can't be where is everyone. He can't be in the conversation of everyone.
I can agree with that. I'm going to say, I was warming up my crowd here, and I was saying that there's a lot of people out there that don't like you, that are Eagle fans, right? They tell me he's not an Eagle fan and things like that. And I realize why it is, because you don't tell people what they want to hear. You actually tell them the truth. And the truth hurts, and people get butthurt when they do hear the truth.
Because fanatics and fans, Mark, they're two different people. Like when I heard the press conference yesterday with Howie Roseman, my biggest problem that I had with the whole thing was that no one asked the question where, hey, was it true that, by the way, Prince, thank you. Appreciate it. Is it true that Bill Belichick was considered for the head coaching job? ESPN has reported that. You know what I would have said? He could have said, that's a stupid question. It's an erroneous report. Okay, well, that's called doing your job. Okay, is it true there was a report out there that Big Dom controls Sirianni's emotions on the sideline? Someone who works at our network put that out. He's really respected. And Derek Gunn got over 1 million views on it. National topic. Carton even hit on it. That's stupid. Okay, thank you for addressing it. The problem that you have today in society is, and you and I have talked about this, these guys are key fob whores, where they want accessibility to the Cowboy complex at Valley Ranch, and they also want to have it at the NovaCare Center to make sure that they get their smoothie. So they're not going to ask the tough question because they are afraid to ask the decent question. Get this. So a reporter was asked a question on Hassan Reddick. Howie Roseman goes, it's a win-win. You're not getting any restitution for the Hassan Reddick deal for 3 years. The Jets haven't given Reddick a contract extension. You could have played the kid on his current deal like Javon Hargrave played, and you could have had the better player. But no. Win-win means this. He didn't want to play for Fangio.
Yeah.
Fangio didn't want to coach him. They used the contract to get him out of there, and the Jets got the better player. But people don't want to hear that.
Well, I don't want to ask you any questions that may get you into trouble, because I know you've got Stephen Jones, who's been, on your show many times, and that you are, close to them. So anything
I'll tell you one thing that's happened. Let me tell you one thing that's happened with the Cowboys and me. Their new PR guy, instead of going through our dear friend who is his special assistant, is being more of a watchdog over the Joneses as of late because of some of the questions that have been asked and some of the things that I have brought up about the Cowboys. Let me pose this one to you first. I look at Dak Prescott, and I look at Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb. And they say this, and Stephen Jones came out either today or yesterday, and he said, well, we've got to pull back money and hold back money because, I'm paraphrasing here, because we got to pay these guys. Those three guys are not going to lead you to a Super Bowl.
Not by themselves. See, okay.
You're going to overpay again for guys. What's the difference between Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins?
Here's the thing. Okay, let me say it this way. I will say that the Eagles and the Cowboys are in two totally different directions and philosophies, okay? The Joneses believe that, we got this great player And so we've got to pay him. We got to hold on to him to get there. But they don't realize that that's not enough. The Eagles aren't good at drafting, and so they are gotten to be good with free agency. And so they believe that's the way it's going to work with them, because you look at it. My son Philly 500 is sitting here is pissed about Jordan Davis looking like he's been hanging out with him eating donuts and things. And so this is where Cowboys get killed because they don't do anything in free agency. And you could say that it needs to be a mix of both. The Eagles, they get praised for all they do in free agency, but they don't really get killed where they screw up in the draft.
Because it's a sexy Band-Aid. When you sign a player like a Devin White, thank you, Hollywood, I appreciate it. When you sign a player like Devin White, who has been outside of 1 year a complete bust from LSU,
Yeah.
walked out. Get this, he did this to the Bucks. He asked for $100 million. The Bucks said, "Take a hike." He signed for $3 million. That's a $97 million haircut when it comes to a player who had lower grades than Zach Cunningham, who was a cast-off player that the Eagles put on the team. And I go like this, okay? The problem that I turn around with the Cowboys and say, you got Jerry Jones coming out praising his draft picks before the draft picks even put on a Cowboy helmet.
Oh, God, yes.
And Mozzie Smith is a complete bust. Now, I like your point, what you made. You said, put him in a nose. Let's see how that transpires. My question is, do you have 4 linebackers that can play a 34?
Not yet. Not yet. Now, and here's what I will say.
Well, it is April 17th.
But see, that you're going by the typical media look at it. Here's what the Cowboys do. They never do shit. I want you to go back a couple years ago when they got rid of Amari Cooper. They let go our number 3 wide receiver in Cedric Wilson, right? Now,
Yeah.
Of course, they said, just to your point, Jalen Tolbert, a 3rd-round draft pick, oh, he's going to be great. They believed in him before he even put on the first uniform, and his first year he was ass. And the Cowboys also let go of Randy Gregory. Stephen Jones goes through and says, production-wise, Dorrance Armstrong is right there with Randy Gregory. Everybody killed him and said, you're freaking nuts. You don't know what the hell you're talking. No wonder we can't win the Super Bowl, because you can't evaluate talent. You think that Dorrance Armstrong is as good as Randy Gregory, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't sign any big free agents. They signed James Washington as a receiver. I called him the unicorn because you never saw him on the damn field. Literally, he played like 3 plays and had 1 drop, okay? You signed because you believed in Michael Gallup, a guy that you drafted who had a torn ACL, whose production was going down for 2 years. He's still a guy we drafted, and we're going to sign him to a long-term deal. That's their problem. But to his credit, he was right about Dorrance Armstrong. Now everybody's crying that Dorrance Armstrong, we let that guy go, but they actually have Sam Williams, who is in his 3rd year. And if you actually, I did this comparison because it kind of blew me away. He got about half the snaps of Dorrance Armstrong, but had almost more than half production-wise in his 2nd year. If he ends up stepping up talent-wise, that may be as good as Bryce Hoff. Because when I look at Bryce Hoff, if you look at his numbers, his stats, he had 10 sacks last year. Everybody, Philly 500 is going crazy. Oh, my God, we got Bryce Hoff.
Yeah, but why didn't he start in New York?
Well, but here's, again, when did he start? But was that a contract year that he played well? Because the years before, 2 sacks, 3 sacks, 2 sacks. And then all of a sudden,
I think he's a one-year wonder.
Just like Jason Hatcher was for our Cowboys.
I think he's a one-year wonder. Mark, get this. He's got some of the lowest grades, Bryce Huff, on pass coverage and also on run stopping of any perimeter defensive outside rusher in pro football. Now, Pro Football Focus is not the Bible. However, when you start putting 2-3 years together where a guy can't stop the run and cover,
that's a problem.
that defense was 27th. No, it was 31st last year in pass defense. Where have you upgraded?
I was going to ask you that one myself, because everybody's talking about how great the Eagles are. I honestly don't see it on that defense. Jordan Davis, you need him to be a 3-down player. Is he going to be able to have the wind to be able to do that?
No, he's not lived up to that. But let me be fair here now to Eagles. Your offensive line, when are you going to address that? I mean, quite frankly, do you think you have a good enough offensive line to win a Super Bowl right now, let alone the NFC East?
From where I'm sitting, I'll take your offensive line, bro.
Dude, that offensive line compared to your offensive line is like, that's an all-star O-line.
That's what I'm saying.
I look at the Cowboys
you
O-line.
literally are crying about your offensive line.
No. Actually, this is one of the things that they do exceptionally well is drafting the offensive line. How can you give Zach Martin a ton of shit for wanting more money? And you're talking about a guy who gets run over in Parsons. And that guy, Zach Martin's going to the Hall of Fame. Parsons is not.
Not unless he
And that guy is more instrumental for Dak's protection than what it is going to be. You're never going to win a Super Bowl by paying a perimeter guy, a pass rusher, $30 million. Name me one.
Not by themselves. Not by themselves at all. And see, there's the thing about the Cowboys, and it's not just right now. Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones, they love their superstars because they sell the jerseys and the fan favorites and everything else, But it's not necessarily what's going to win you. When you think about New England, when it was Tom Brady, of course it was Gronk, but after that, it wasn't really superstars. But they were deep. They could lose a player without going down to like a Chaz Green when you lost to Tyron Smith.
Lost for integrity.
Yeah. And see, you can go back to Tony Romo and think about Jason Witten, Des Bryant, Tony Romo, DeMarcus Ware. Literally 7-8 guys took up 50% of the money. And if you're doing that, then you've got 45 guys that got to feast on half of what's left over. So now you're paying guys that have to pay substantial minutes that may not be that good. Now, to the Cowboys' benefit, the only reason why they are at least somewhat successful is because they are good at drafting for the most part. And they are good at finding guys after the draft that end up being decent players.
The last 10 years, the Dallas Cowboys have drafted 15 Pro Bowlers, and the second team's the Ravens at 12.
Now,
so they do draft.
I will say part of that, though, is misleading because the fans also vote for that.
Okay. To your point on New England, Mark, here's to show you that, and this is why I say this about both Dak and Jalen Hurts, that these guys aren't superstar players. The difference between Brady and Mahomes, and by the way, obviously, they're the right guys. They're generational players. However, can you name me one Hall of Fame football player in New England that Tom Brady won with, outside of Gronkowski? Or how about this? That was drafted in the first round.
They weren't
even Gronk. He was a second rounder. Can you name me one with anybody or Hall of Famer outside of Gronkowski that they won Super Bowls in New England? And on the other hand, in Kansas City, Tyreek Hill won the one. He's won 2 in a row now because they didn't want to pay him. They sent him to Miami. They don't need him. So there's not one Hall of Fame guy in the offense in Kansas City, and there's not one Hall of Famer at wide receiver, running back in New England during the entire 25 years that Tom Brady was in New England. But yet, when you look at Dallas and you look at Philly, Philadelphia's got the richest offense payroll-wise, I think, in pro football right now. You got two $25 million wide receivers, and you got a $50 million. You got $98 million tied up in 3 players.
Right. And we'll see how that works out. But here's what I will say, though. See, this is the difference. And, Stephen Jones basically going on yesterday saying that, you got to save the money to be able to pay these 3 guys and so on, which keep you relevant. But see, here's the problem. Okay, now I don't know how you feel about them signing Devontae Smith to that contract. But see, here's the thing that's different. because they still had this year to work with, because they actually had the fifth-year option to work with, they're paying him today in today's dollars, but they're not paying it really on the cap until down
No,
the road.
it's 6-4. This is what they're not paying him really, Mark, for 3 years, and
Exactly.
this is why this guy is one thing he does well. Roseman and Associates
If we could just
does a great job with this. He does this 6.4 this year. They picked up the fifth-year option, 15-1, and then in the third year, the escalators kick into 25. So in theory, they're not really paying
right.
two $25 million wide receivers. This is where the Cowboys get into mistakes,
Oh,
where they pay these guys on the back end, and they get hammered on the back end of those contracts.
There's a lot
where
of
the-
dead money.
No,
Yeah, and see, this is the thing that I don't know if it's the Joneses just don't know how to do this, if they're too cheap to hire somebody that knows it. But see, when you think about Zach Martin, where he basically held out last year, when he signed his contract, I think he was the second highest paid guard in football. But then a couple years down the road, you look at it and say, well, shit, I'm not getting paid but like 10th now. That'll be Devontae Smith in 3 years. But in the meantime, you've got him happy, you've got him whole, and you've got money to use elsewhere on other resources. That is the problem with the Cowboys. They're not forward thinking. They're always more reactionary to stuff instead of proactive, saying, how can we increase the money? How can we make this impact less? To have Dak Prescott's last year of a $40 million contract at $55 million, and you don't have the foresight to say, we need to do something with this. To sit here with CeeDee Lamb and dick around with this, or are you waiting for Justin Jefferson to get his, so it'll cost you even more? You should have did this shit last year. And
how about this, Mark?
That's crazy.
Here's the biggest problem that Dallas has when it comes to constructing teams since Jimmy left, is that he doesn't know his weakness. And his weakness is he falls in love with his Cowboys instead of like. You know, Jimmy always told me fall in like with your players, not in love, because there'll be a tough decision that you have to make when it comes to jettisoning one of these players. And you have to have structural integrity on your salary cap. You have to have you have to make the tough cuts. He refuses to make the tough decisions. That dicking around with Dak Prescott's contract cost him money and evaluation time. I mean, quite frankly, you don't have a head guy in charge in the locker room. The head. This is what he is. The autonomy of the locker room and the leadership of the locker room starts at the GM. The integrity of the drafting of the personnel starts with the general manager.
Jerry.
The constructing of the contracts starts with the general manager. This is what Jimmy did when he was in Dallas. Jimmy never called plays. He let his coaches do all that. Jimmy ran the draft, and he looked at the evaluating of the coaches and the job they were doing, and he made total autonomy decisions when it came to personnel moves on what he wanted to do. And since that guy has left that building, Steven and Jerry think that they can replace the triplets. Here's your new triplets, Dak, CD,
Oh, geez.
and Mike.
You just brought up a whole nother thing here. Because
But here,
Jerry
look
is
at
still
those-
living in the
that's-
fucking past, bro.
That's the modern day. Well, that's what it is. Watch this. Zeke, Amari, Dak. Well, those guys aren't Michael Irvin. Those guys aren't Emmett. You've got to evolve. He has not evolved since 1996. And that's why the Cowboys have less victories in the postseason than the Bengals do.
See, I hate you, man. I hate you because you're telling the damn truth, man. Stop it. Try to make me feel a little bit better here, man. You got me wanting
How about
to
this?
jump off the freaking bridge.
Here's what makes it so delusional with Cowboy fans.
We always
They're
believe.
the greatest off-season fan base on the planet, and it reminds me of my Canes. We win recruiting wars. We're going to be preseason. And I'm like, I don't give a shit about preseason. I don't give a shit about any of that. I care about winning championships. Don't talk to me about recruiting wars. Talk to me about wars in September. And the Cowboys, when they get into those situations, Green Bay's a great example of it. The entire organization, from the top, the owner, down to the head coach and position coaches and the players, gagged. Just out and out gagged. You have home field. If you weren't going to win a Super Bowl,
all right. You didn't shit on me enough here, okay?
if you didn't win a Super Bowl last year, that football team will never win a Super Bowl as long as Jerry Jones is the owner and operator of that football team. It's over.
I hate to okay. Yes, you're probably right. I can still dream, can I? But the Cowboys had a flaw, and that's the middle of the field. They could not control the middle of the field, stopping the run and running the football. Now, I don't know if they're going to do anything about it, but I will say I believe their plan is we're going to keep our powder dry. We're going to basically play dead. We're going to try and do the best we can at the draft. I think that they may actually move backwards and try and get more players in here, more on the offensive line, because I think they can get 2 starting offensive linemen if they trade back and get a running back. And then in that next wave of free agency, when they get that money from Michael Gallup, when they finally do get CeeDee Lambs, then get your fill-in guys, and maybe they'll be a little more aggressive. They did.
So you think they moved down from 24?
I think they could, because when they have moved back, it has been beneficial to them. I remember in 2012 being outside a radio music hall, and they traded with San Francisco to move back, I think, 4 spaces, and they took Travis Frederick, and they got Terrence Williams with a 3rd-round pick. I can look at it and say them moving back with Micah was another one that's good. And the Cowboys, more than anything else, they stick with what has worked for them before, which is why they're still living back in the 90s. They keep doing the same thing. But you shit on my team enough now, okay? I got to feel a little bit better here, because I got to ask you.
Bring it on.
Is Nick Sirianni, and I'm going to tell you what has happened with Nick Sirianni reminds me Jason Garrett. Because Jason Garrett, when he was the prodigal son, he was hired by Jerry. He's, a guy he knows. He had that great Thanksgiving game and stuff. When he was failing, they took away play calling duties. And we all looked around and we're like, he's not calling the offense. He's not coaching anybody. What is his role? He's just there as a figurehead. And I feel like that's your coach, Nick Sirianni. Am I wrong?
Nick Sirianni, his name should be Pinocchio.
He reminds me of a vampire.
He lies.
Honestly.
He has no job. And remember this, when he had play calling duties, like you said, they were 2-5.
Mm-hmm.
Shane Steichen took him over.
Yeah.
Shane Steichen is showing you in Indianapolis what he's doing with Anthony Richardson, that he looks like he is going to be a formidable coach. I personally look at him. I think Jason Garrett's a better coach than he is.
Oh, shit. Shots fired. Okay. Oh, damn. That's cold, bro.
I think Jason Garrett's a better coach than Nick Sirianni.
Oh, wow.
Tell me one thing he does that's a redeeming quality. There's nothing.
He gets
See, what you're going to find out a problem with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to shit on your team and my team.
I love it when you shit on your team. Let me be clear here.
But it's easier to shit on your team because for 30 years you guys parade around like you've won 14 Super Bowls.
Okay, well you've now told me that I'm not winning shit with Dak, Micah, and CD. Are you going to win shit with Jalen Hurts?
He did go to a Super Bowl.
He did, but was it because of him?
In 22, when he finished second in the MVP? Yeah.
Okay. Now, I would say if the Cowboys, I'll tell you what.
He played like Lamar did this last year, but better.
Okay. Do you see that going forward? Because he didn't look like the same quarterback last year that he was the year before.
What's happening is there's too much meddling going on, like there was with Wentz, that they're trying to, like when Wentz was playing and they were 11-2 before he got hurt at the Los Angeles game at the Coliseum, I thought he was the first coming of Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
When he got injured, They didn't want him running. They didn't want him doing all that. They tried to evolve him into a drop back quarterback, pat, sack, fumble, field position up, field goal, touchdown. The thing went to total mess. What they did last year, they hired an inexperienced offensive coordinator, and they did this. How can you hire an inexperienced offensive coordinator and ask the guy to throw more when that's not his top skill set?
Right.
That's why he was second in turnovers.
And you think Kellen
So
Moore's
I
going to
look at
fix this?
Jalen, and I said, Mark, you're not going to. Here's the thing. I look at Jalen. I personally think he's Tyrod Taylor 2.0 a little better.
Eagle fans, how do y'all feel about that?
No, wait. No, look, though. Here's one thing. If they go back to 22, he's a weapon because of the RPOs. But they're not doing that. He has the capability, Mark, to take a team to a Super Bowl. But the organization is getting in the way like the organization gets in the way of Dak.
Now I've heard some rumors that, we all know that Jerry and Stephen Jones are knee deep in everything. They've got their shows and stuff that that they are in there running things and all that. I've kind of heard a little bit that it's kind of that way with the Eagles, but just not out in front.
Oh, no, it is totally. Because here, Mark, watch this. This was the press conference yesterday. And let me show you on what the Eagles, and show you that this is very Jerry Jones-like. And I could probably just replace Howie Roseman with Stephen and Jerry here. They call free agency mistakes gaps instead of mistakes in the draft. The dude said, Howie Roseman, that the Reddick was a win-win. And I'm like this. I got you, Jalen. Thank you. They go like this. Reddick was a win-win. Well, you're not getting compensation for 3 years. The guy's under the same contract. How is that a win-win? You got the lesser player in Bryce Huff.
Yeah.
Vic Fangio has had an influence the last 3 years on the personnel and the direction of the scheme, which means this. So when he got the job, you didn't want Hassan Reddick on the team, and that's why he's not on the team. He's in New York. They also said that this was Sirianni answering a question from a press person. Hey, dude, what kind of player do you want, Nick? Well, Howie really does a lot of homework. Him and his people, you can't imagine the type of work that goes into the players and then the final decision that he makes when he picks the players. So the head coach doesn't pick his coaching staff. He doesn't pick his players. He shows up on Sunday, and he has Big Dom there to manage his ego and his attitude so he doesn't scream at fans too much. So to your point, the Cowboys and the Eagles are almost in the same position, but it's ownership and it's GM-wise to this. You guys win a lot, but you don't win
when it counts.
The important games.
Okay. You're the GM for the Dallas Cowboys.
There's no getting around it.
I agree. What do you do differently? Besides lock up Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones in a room and just say, just stay away from it.
This comes down to Jeffrey Lurie and Jerry Jones doing this. Don't you and me are football players, Mark. If you get punched in the face 31 times, eventually you're going to duck, ain't you?
Yeah.
Well, Jerry hasn't ducked.
No, he has not. He keeps doing the same damn thing over and over again. And
he needs a capologist.
Oh God!
He needs a capologist. I'll tell you one thing: this guy Howie Roseman does do.
He
is the best cap management and contract general manager of anybody in the league. He's spectacular at it. However, when he dips his beak into the sandbox of personnel, they haven't drafted a corner in 20 years. That's successful. They haven't drafted a linebacker that's successful. They haven't drafted an edge rusher that's been successful since he's been head of the personnel. I mean, why would you, if you're Jeffrey Lurie, continue to hand him opportunities to go out there and still make mistakes in the draft when he's not qualified? He's not qualified to be the general manager in personnel. And neither, in my opinion, is Jerry.
He's not. That's Jerry's ego.
You remember Tony Tolbert?
Yes.
Okay. Jimmy found him in the 3rd round. Remember James Washington?
Oh, yeah.
Found him in the latter round.
Yeah. They found a lot
They
of guys.
did the due diligence on Larry Allen, who was drafted in like the 12th round before he left, and then Switzerland brought him in with Bob Ackles. These guys were great, not only in the 1st round, but when Jimmy put the value chart together, that's what made him, Mark, build that Cowboy team.
Jerry, oh my God. Jimmy, well, let's be clear here. Jerry's not winning the Super Bowl without Jimmy, and Jimmy's not winning one without Jerry. And
absolutely not, and absolutely totally true.
Because Jerry took care of the money and everything else, but Jimmy was great as far as the personnel. The fact that he ended up getting a number 1 pick for Steve Walsh, the finding Nate Newton.
More than that.
I mean, yeah, it was the number 1 and other stuff with it. He was constantly bringing in talent and finding the right kind of guys. He wasn't afraid to go ahead and make a move and say, we're going to get rid of our best player and see what we can get for it. We're going to take a chance on a guy like Charles Haley, who, couldn't get along in San Francisco and end up doing great things with them. Now, the thing is, I know you've killed my Cowboys because you look and say, Dak can't with CD and all that and so on. You're right. They cannot win a Super Bowl like that. What Micah needs is he needs a Robin on the other side. He needs some linemen in there. He is a guy that if you can use him as a specialist that can create havoc. But the problem is we got this mentality from Stephen Jones, and I don't want to fuck up your relationship with Stephen Jones or anything, but I don't want to hear position flex ever again. Okay? Listen. If you got a guy...
By the way, that was created after Jimmy left.
Position flex. The fact that you look at it and say, well, I've got a defensive end that can play tackle. And, really a tackle is a defensive lineman. So we can be a one technique guy. I got a safety and, he can play linebacker and all. No, listen.
You do that in junior football.
But that's what the Cowboys do. We have taken wide receivers and tried to make them tight ends, okay? We ended up having Lyle Collins, who was a great guard, and say, we want you to be a tackle. He puts on too much weight and fucks up his hips. We had a tight end, Enrico.
Dude, there's too much overcoaching and too much micromanaging in Dallas.
And that's the problem.
Just step away.
Give me a defensive tackle that only thing he knows is being a defensive tackle. If you are a tackle defensive end, you're too light to be a defensive tackle, and you're too big to be an edge rusher. You can do them, but you're not going to do them exceptionally well. And this goes back to I've got to make do because I've fucked up with the cap.
Here, Mark, I want to give your and everyone a historical background. And by the way, I want to show a lot of your people that are there, and I showed you this last time. Okay? I was in the building when they were building the Super Bowl teams.
Yes.
I was in the building.
You played with the Cowboys for 1 year.
Yeah, that right there. Okay? First, Landry actually brought me in, but because my uncle played for Coach Landry when they were in New York, and he was the D coordinator in New York when they were there with Lombardi. So let me say this to you here. When they got the job for Jimmy to leave and go to Dallas, coaching the University of Miami, as everyone knows, he said, I have to have complete control. Jerry goes like this. No problem. I've got a lot to mess because Bumbright and everyone, Gil and all them people had completely destroyed the Cowboys financially. They were in ruin. So Jerry walked in there, leveraged every cent that he had, bought the team for like $150 million. He didn't have a cent. They fired everyone. He kept 5 people in the building. 5 of those people, or 3 of those people, are still there because they wanted some continuity. They even kept Gil on for the draft when they got Aikman. That was always a foregone conclusion that Aikman was going to be in the room. However, Jimmy made it very clear that we are under complete autonomy for me making all personnel decisions, coaching-wise, and also when it came to personnel. And on top of that, all those Miami Hurricane coaches he brought that they won 3 Super Bowls with were the lowest paid coaches in the National Football League at the time. You know why? Jimmy wanted him hungry. He wanted him hungry because he knew this is in the 1-15 year. We're going through mini camps. Randy White retires. You had all these other players that were veteran guys just walking out of the building. Ed stayed, and I was happy that he stayed. I got a chance to play a little bit with him. But this was how it went down. I mean, the Herschel Walker deal is a great example. They go under legendary noon run. He looks over at Dave Wannstedt. This is in the offseason. He goes, why am I keeping Herschel Walker? What's the point? And he goes like this. So they got on the phone with Cleveland. Cleveland was ready to pull the deal. They had all these draft choices. In parachutes Minnesota. Minnesota comes in, and Jimmy goes like this. Yes. They send Walker to Minnesota. Do you know not one of those football players that they made that trade for with Minnesota ever played for the Dallas Cowboys? Jimmy wanted the picks because the picks were going to create the football team. Everyone was questioning, even the Eagles. I mean, Buddy Ryan was talking all kinds of shit to Jimmy on the sidelines, 1-15. Hey, this ain't Eastern Carolina guy. All that kind of stuff, man. He was killing him. And Jimmy goes, don't worry, we're going to hang in. Even Dave Wannstedt said, everybody's on a 34. Do you think we should get away from the 43? Jimmy goes like this, no, we're going to stick here and we're going to go with what we're doing. 3 years later, won a Super Bowl and built one of the greatest dynasties of all time. All because he had complete control.
Yeah, and that's the problem here is Jerry's got complete.
And you have none of that now.
Yeah. And so I guess we're getting ready. Don't have too much time left here on your show. I don't want to hog it up. I see most of your Eagle chat is like, end this turd.
Well, because you know what the problem becomes with the Philly fans is that, I pointed out all these things. It's funny, Mark, I listened to a press conference, and it's like Philly fans hear a completely different conversation than what was said. And and I know what you and I do. We sit there and they go, he just said he controls the entire draft, and he picks the players without the coach saying. But what they want to hear is that the coach has some say. And now we know the coach has no say.
Yeah, you're not letting all people do their jobs.
I mean, and get this, like one thing you and I agree on, these key fob warriors that are still in radio, and they want the accessibility. The reason that you're becoming so successful in Dallas is because you're running the radio guys out of business. Because those guys can't speak the truth on a station that Jerry Jones is on twice a week.
Well, you are actually uniquely positioned because you were one of those radio guys, and now you're on the other side. Which side do you like better being on?
I like this side.
I know that you see, the thing I like about you, and see, when you shit on me, okay, I'm one that, this is what I want people, and shout out to everybody that's taking time out here. We got almost 300 people on Jacob Sports and about 200 on my channel too as well. I want people to take away one thing here, because we have a problem in the world right now, which is if you don't agree with me, my attitude is fuck you, and I won't have a conversation with you. Get out of your comfort zone and talk to somebody who may have a difference of opinion. And what you might find out is they're a lot like you are. And see, that's the thing. I've only talked to you a few times, but I feel like I've known you for years. And you're going to speak the truth. And that's the thing that I love. Because, see, what's happened, like, with...
By the way, Mark does have over 100 subscribers. So 100,000 subscribers, senor, so he does.
A lot of times you feel like there really is a narrative. And that's how I actually got started on doing this, because I would hear things, it's like, that's bullshit. That's not actually how it went. But you would constantly hear the same thing over and over and over and over again. And so I wanted to try and speak truth to it. Now, you're on this side now and kind of looking at it. So you're basically saying it is true that they are towing the company line.
Well, here's one thing, though, that is troublesome, that for me, it's always been a staple in my career. Doesn't matter if I'm on the radio, doesn't matter if I'm on television. I first started in TV, actually. And then I got into radio, and I've been doing radio for 34 years, and then now I've been doing this for the last 3. And I still had the Philadelphia Eagles public relations department calling my bosses. making up all these wild accusations about me and saying things and taking things out of context to try to scare people. My company's not scared. And what they'll do is, because I don't know what it is, Mark, sometimes when I say something, it's just what it is, I guess. And it's something, the way we say it. See, I was schooled by Rush Limbaugh. And Rush told me it's about content and delivery of content. And so I guess it's the way that I do it. But it's what I find in this is that these people, the audience, tells me what they want to hear. No longer it's me wanting to tell them what I want to have them hear. And in radio, people's egos are so big that they think they know what the customer wants. And they don't, because they don't listen to the customer. That's the difference.
In watching, the difference is, and here's the difference between social media and normal media. They are a one-way vehicle. They're putting out their opinion and so on. Things have evolved where it needs to be a two-way street. And you're recognizing that because it's the people out there that see bullshit and they want to call it out and they want to know that they're being heard.
Yeah, but Mark, people like to be, they would rather be lied to than told the truth, because you know why? It's a comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's like watching your favorite movie 100 times or listening to your favorite song 100 times. It puts you in a comfort zone where it makes you feel good. I like to make people feel uncomfortable. See, to me, uncomfortable conversations is truth. I've been called controversial. I didn't realize talking the truth is controversial. I don't really say a lot. I say some things, and I have. Okay, and I've effed up a couple times some of the things that I've said, but they were mistakes. That's it.
Q Ball,
Dude,
super chatted and wanted you to ask me a question from earlier, and I don't want to.
What was it? Go ahead, Q. What was it? What was the question? Here we go. Go ahead, Mark.
What plans would you have for the Cowboys if you were the GM? Likewise. Well, for me, okay, first of all, I would lock up Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and say, listen, you guys aren't coming anywhere near the field or the team until Sunday, and you guys go have a big party in your box, okay? I'm going to go out there, and if
You sound like Jimmy.
I mean, seriously, I don't know. Listen, if you're paying me to do a job, let me do the damn job, okay? Next thing I'm going to do is I'm getting somebody who can work the damn cap. Okay, because that's half the problem. This whole thing, it's you're being sold a whole bunch of bullshit when you look at the Cowboys spending $11 million this year, and you see Carolina and New York spending $330 million. Okay, there's something wrong here. Either you have fucked up in the past on how you're managing the money, or you've just wasted the money, or you don't know what you're doing. I don't know which one you want to take, but we have to fix that more than anything else. The next thing, I am focusing in, as opposed to the guys that sell jerseys, I am working on getting the guys that actually win championships. To me, that
Mark, do you think they're more concerned on TV ratings and merchandise and revenue than they are? And more importantly, I say this, and this is probably going to be shitting on you again.
No, it's okay.
You might as well call the Dallas Cowboys the Dallas Kardashians.
Perfect name. I'll get my wife to make a shirt just like that. That's what
the Dallas Kardashians.
Think about it, though, Dan. When you talk about winning, I think about the teams that have won Super Bowls. Your Tampa Bay Buccaneers won a Super Bowl, got bad, won another one. The Rams won 2 Super Bowls. Hell, the Arizona Cardinals went to a Super Bowl. The Green Bay Packers came back and they won a couple of them. And the Cowboys haven't done shit. Hell, the Detroit Lions have gone deep now in the playoffs. And during that time where the Cowboys have done absolutely nothing, they're worth billions more than everybody else. And every single day, there's somebody else doing another article on who's going to replace Dak Prescott. It's what did Jerry Jones say? They're winning in the battle of publicity. They're the most valuable franchise in the world. So why change? You're making money. Winning the Super Bowl, that's 1 year.
I had the head of Fox, the guy who founded Fox, and his name escapes me. Mm-hmm. and he's been on 3 or 4 times, and he founded the NFL on Fox and Fox Sports.
Wow. Okay.
What's that?
Wow.
Yeah, well, I've had him on. You know what? When Michael Irvin and the White House and all that stuff were going on, no, not Rupert Murdoch, the guy who founded Fox Sports, and he's been on, like I said, a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
And his name escapes me right now, but he said this. Jerry goes, man, I got to pull this thing back. I got to pull this thing back. And you know what he said? He goes like this. Don't you ever touch David Hill. It's David Hill.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you, Stevens. David Hill's been on like 3 or 4 times. The guy who founded Fox Sports, hired Madden, hired Summerall. And he goes, don't you ever touch my Dallas Cowboys, ever. It's the greatest theatrical show and reality television show in the world. Don't ever change it. Those words from David Hill, okay, who said it on my program. Don't you ever change the Cowboys. And you know why? Value your football team with the star will go up every year. Winning 12 games is not going to send your value up. What you do with your theatrical play every year. So think about this, Mark. No matter what you cover,
Yeah.
no matter Dak, CD, Micah,
Well,
that's part of the story.
it's the gift that gives. If the Cowboys are bad, everybody's still watching because they're so happy to see them go through misery. If they're winning, of course, everybody's going to be watching because they're pissed off. And that's where
13
Jerry Jones.
wins, Mark. Mark, 13 wins is not going to get you. It's not going to make Jerry Jones any more money. How can a guy have increased $150 million he bought the team for? It's worth $10 billion today
Right.
over 30 years. Boy, I'd like to have that investment.
I would definitely like to have that one.
Think about that. I mean, that's over tenfold on your investment of $150 million. And guess what? Since 96, is it? 97?
Mm-hmm.
You haven't done shit. And the team has gone up even more.
That's what I'm saying. That's where it's crazy.
Mark, next week is the draft.
I will be there in Detroit. Now, we might be just getting to the hotel at 3:30, so if we are going to get...
If we have to move the time, we will.
Yeah, but we will be broadcasting live from Detroit. We'll be there Wednesday through Saturday, and we are literally 0.4 of a mile away from the stage at our hotel. So we are right smack dab in the middle of the whole kit and caboodle.
That's going to be fantastic, man. Thank you. You're going to be right there on the premises of the NFL draft. That's going to be awesome. I look forward to it.
It's all we got. It's Cowboy. It's all we got.
Is what?
Is the
hope?
draft. That's all we got.
Optimism? Mark, think about that. The only thing you have is hope and optimism.
Oh, shit.
You don't have anything else.
I know. No, we ain't got shit else. That's it. That's it. We ain't got shit
I'll tell you what, you do have the West End, though, man, and I do love the Palm down there. So, and Hooters, I'm all good down there.
There you go. I appreciate it as always, man. I feel honored, knowing some of the people that have been here on with you and stuff, that you take a little old guy out of his mama's basement wearing his wife's panties and put him on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mark. We'll catch up next week. Thank you, my friend.
All right. Peace out.
You got it. That is Mark Holmes. Make sure you check him out. He does a really great job with his. He does have over 100,000 subscribers. I didn't think.
There we go. Thank you, good people.
I tell you what, you do have the West End, though, man, and I do love the Palm down there. So, and Hooters, I'm all good down there.
There you go. I appreciate it as always, man. I feel honored, knowing some of the people that have been here on with you and stuff, that you take a little old guy out of his mama's basement wearing his wife's panties and put him on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mark. We'll catch up next week. Thank you, my friend.
All right. Peace out.
You got it. That is Mark Holmes. Make sure you check him out. He
looking at the chat there,
does a
man.
really
The Eagle
great job
fans
with
are
his.
merciless.
He does have over 100,000 subscribers. I didn't think we were. I thought we drilled them. Cowboys are going nowhere.
Well, we're not going. Eagles aren't going anywhere
either. Win you a Super Bowl. You got 3 guys. I said it. You got those 3 guys are not going to win you a Super Bowl. Look at Senor. Cute fireside chat.
Oh,
No, I thought
Lordy.
a cute fireside chat was.
Okay, so what do you guys think? Was that worth watching? Was that good? Actually, let's do a poll. We'll hang on for a few more minutes here and see what people think about it. We'll do a quick poll. Okay, let's start this poll. All right, so good people. Couple of things real quick. Let me update some news because I'm getting people who are trashing me. People love to trash me and so on. So the Dak Prescott situation, okay? Friday, Dak Attack came through with all the paperwork on the situation of Dak Prescott where the case was being dismissed. And I said it's possible that they could go through and they could refile it in another court, another jurisdiction, which it looks like they're going to be refiling it. My thing is this, regardless of what the news is about it, okay? If you are going to go through and you're going to have Mike Farello on and he's going to say this story has the most clicks on it, even though it happened at 7 o'clock in the evening at the day of legal tampering began, if you are going to have the attorney on who accuses Dak of rape and says that he's straight garbage, then you need to cover the story completely as it evolves. And if it started, as it did start last week, then you should be following and saying, here's another turn of the story. And that is where I look at it and say that it's kind of bullshit with some of the stuff that you get. Now, again, I am Joe the fan in my basement. I'm sorry, Game Time. Yeah, he was shitting on them, but okay, it's the first time we're doing. Okay, I tell you what, Game Time. Next Wednesday, you can be there with me while we shit on him from the draft. How about that? We can. That's what we can do. We can do the broadcast together, so you can have my back for me. Okay. Maybe Sills can pull a few of his contacts into the Well, that's a possibility. We'll have to wait and see if that is the case. But it's something different. You know, it's interesting at least to see somebody having a different point of view from the outside looking in. It's actually kind of good to hear somebody who was there that 1989 season when they were just ass, and can kind of give you a little bit of background from Jimmy and Jerry and so forth and the differences right there. I think we can definitely say that the problem is that Jerry Jones is literally running the show. And unfortunately, Jerry is not the guy with the football knowledge like Jimmy Johnson was. And so that's our problem. Game Time Brian, that's the reason I don't like him, because he hates on players it's not necessary. That's a big back. What's a big back? Yep, Game Time wanted to talk Violet in the other court. I like you, Game Time wanted to talk to you, though. Okay, well, if I screwed up, I screwed up. It's 100-fold. Okay. Well, looks like we got 81% say yes, 19% say no. Dakota didn't do anything. He has his personality didn't fit. Alrighty. Okay. With that being said, we are going to get ready to roll on out of here. I appreciate everybody being here, and we'll check and see how this works out if we go ahead and do this some more. Like I've said many times, in Jerry's eyes, it's the greatest show on earth. Long as the Cowboys have that title, Jerry is happy, period. You have to remember, this is not our team, so the Joneses teams can only sit and express. Yeah, right. You're right. We have no control over it. It is all Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones. It's his world, and we're living in it. Clown Show wants all the whistles and bells without the substance behind it. That's true, too. Don't like players hate as well, but was a great scream of facts. Okay. All right. That's cool. Well, I tell you what we'll do is in the community tab, I'll put up in there. The clock did, Mike. The clock went off a couple of times with the ching, but it's delayed by about 2 minutes or so. So we did have a $19 super chat from Dirty Sanchez, and it ching. I didn't say that I'd seen the scrolling of it, Mike, but it definitely is working. Top Line Sports Network. So we got to stay on and see what it does. Let me pull down. Boom. Let's watch the clock. Okay. Wait for it. Top Line Sports Network. Shout out to you, buddy. We're still waiting. Top Line Sports. The next thing we'll figure out is how to put it onto the screen of YouTube. Oh, they're still killing me over on this channel. Well, at least they enjoyed it. Nick kisses the ring, so what? Okay. Come on. You can do it. Come on. We're still waiting for it. There it goes. Cha-ching. Shout out to Top Line Sports Network. See? There it goes. Name across. Boom. He sent a super chat. All right, so shout out to Michael Anthony Fitness Reaction Gig Economy Extraordinaire getting this stuff together. I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate all you great fans here watching the show and stuff. You know, there's only so much you can talk about, and there's only so many ways to present it. So trying something a little bit different, you know, sometimes you throw shit on the wall and see what sticks. And I think this was actually good because I actually thought you may hate the Eagles and things, but, you know, we're all still sports fans. And I think it's actually good to get somebody else's perception. And when they fall flat on their face, we can go back to the tape. There you have it. All right, good people. We will talk to you all later on. I appreciate you guys. And we can now say Dan Selio knows who Mark Holmes is. And Philly 500.
Disrespected yet? Does this defense have any heart?
No, they suck. I've been telling you all season, Philly.
Shit on you. They've shit on you. Don't you hear me? Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. It's like they shit on you. They've shit on you. They have shit on you. Don't you hear me? Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. It's like they shit on you. Kill them.